Hello and welcome to HorsePlayers Happy Hour. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornatal, back with you in the Brooklyn bunker once again, ready for another episode. Our friends at Pimlico have done it again. If you didn't get your picks in on time, we're going to blame our friends at Pimlico. They have already started the first contest race. Hopefully, enough of you got your picks in that is not going to come as devastating news. The usual co-host of this program, he's going to be here both virtually and potentially actually later. But we kick things off with, I'm just going to say it. He's a legendary figure in the contest world. He is an NHC champion. Crucially, he's a horse player advocate and a horse advocate. He's also the all-time leading money earnings winner on at the NHC itself. He is Michael Beychok. Michael, how are things?
Things are great, Pete. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to subbing for Matt Bernier, one MB for another MB.
We got the little MB swap going on. Yeah. Matt, we're gonna cut to him fairly early in the show. He did his top 10 for the Classic division for the Breeders' Cup Classic. Our show, of course, sponsored by our friends at the Breeders' Cup and at HorsePlayers.com. We'll be hearing from Matt in a minute, but I thought first of all we should talk to you and tell people why we're here. Now, you can't play this week, but you can play in a whole bunch other of these Horse Player Happy Hours if you haven't gotten involved in this one already before the year's out. We're going to be off next week. Then I'll make the announcement now. 50% of you will be thrilled. 50% will be cursing me, but we're going to make the move back to Thursdays. This is an interconnected series of contests with $20,000 in value added, 2 seats to the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. You basically, when you play along in these games, have 3 ways to win your way in. You can do so through the traditional method, which is this contest feeds into Saturday's qualifier. You can go from here to there where players will win their BCBC seat, or you can be the overall winner of the tour, a prize that is still up for grabs. 8 scores count, and you can get more than 1 score in an event. So lots and lots of time to do it that way. And we're having a playoff at the end of the year for another BCBC seat. The way that one works, pretty simple. You get an automatic entry into the playoffs with a top 2 finish. And then we're also going to pull in top tour players who didn't qualify directly at the end of the year. So you can play 1 week and then have a chance to have this added value of getting a BCBC seat at the end of the season. Now, Michael Beychok has been one of the people playing, it feels like close to every week. We appreciate your support. What was it that attracted you to this format, Michael?
Well, thanks for having me on, and thanks for putting this together, the Horse Players Happy Hour that benefits Thoroughbred Aftercare, because I think we need more of this. It's just the more awareness, the more eyeballs we can get on, the problem and the issue of taking care of our horses after they get off the track is welcome. I have been one of the, I've played almost every one. I hate to miss one. I just think it's an easy, $20. It's an easy $20. We spend $20 on so many things that, don't really matter. And this ends up mattering. And so at the end of the year, you think, well, I can't give, $200. But you play 20 or 30 of these, over the course of the year, and you're putting $600 into a pool. It's not all going to Thoroughbred Aftercare, but some of it is. And look, by the way, it makes a difference. I hear from people in the charity, the nonprofit industry, your $100, your $50, it just really makes a difference. I think someone said, $20 buys a bale of hay, or $10. Those are, for charitable organizations, those are really tangible, big things that they can just strike off their list and go do something else, like go take care of another horse, So I just think it's such an easy thing for horse players to do. We waste so much money on, betting the whole races that we shouldn't be betting on, because we don't have an opinion, that we should, put our money where we think we have, we can do some good. And this is certainly one of the places where we can do some good.
I'm glad you very kindly pointed out my bearing the lead in my intro, which is that the rake for these tournaments goes entirely to our 2 charities, the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, tbaftercare.com. They do the crucial work of accrediting the aftercare organizations, and our founding partners over at the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, who do amazing work for horses and humans. You can learn more about some of our partnerships with them over at trfinc.org/players. And you can see one of our newest projects with them, our charity whiskey. If you want to learn more about that, trfinc.org/players. Now, we have a nice little window here where I think we can get Matt Bernier's piece in about the Classic Division. I say we roll that. We should come back with just enough time to talk about our next contest race, which will be the 6th at Belmont. So he wasn't here to start the show, but he's here now virtually. He is TV's Matt Bernier.
Well, this week, the first Breeders' Cup Classic Top 10 rankings came out. It is a list that's compiled by members of the media. They vote on basically who they think are the most logical or the best horses that could potentially be running in the Breeders' Cup Classic the first Saturday in November at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club this year. I happen to be one of the folks who votes, or at least throws my hat into the ring. You're going to note my top 10 is, I would say, it's not significantly different, but there are some pretty major discrepancies between the list that I submitted and the actual top 10. Let's start with the actual top 10 in order 1 through 10. Number 1 is Maxfield. Number 2 is Mystic Guide. 3, Essential Quality. 4, Hot Rod Charlie. 5, Silver State. 6, Happy Saver. 7, Country Grammar. 8, Mandaloon. 9, Latruska. 10, Royal Ship. Now, my top 10 that I put in: 1, Mystic Guide. 2, Royal Ship. 3, Country Grammar. 4, Essential Quality. 5, Hot Rod Charlie. 6, Happy Saver. 7, Maxfield. 8, Mandaloon. 9, Silver State. 10, Idol. When I put in my rankings, I try to be cognizant of the big picture in totality. If we're thinking a mile and a quarter at the beginning of November as opposed to getting caught up in the moment. So while I'm not arguing from a talent standpoint that Maxfield deserves to be at the top of the list, to me, at 10 furlongs against this caliber of runner, I have some reservations, and I think some other horses are better suited to succeed at that sort of configuration in that setup. Notably, some of the changes between my list and the actual top 10, I don't have Latruska in here. I think she is still better suited to run in a race like the Distaff. You will also note that the actual top 10 has Royal Ship at 10. I have him at number 2. Country Grammar in the actual list is at 7. I have him at 3. I thought that the races that those two horses ran in Southern California for older horses, and specifically the Hollywood Gold Cup at Santa Anita, I think that their running styles are suited for a mile and a quarter at Del Mar. I think the distance is no issue for them. And the reason I actually have Royal Ship ahead of Country Grammar, in my opinion, in the Hollywood Gold Cup, he made the front, and I think he just kind of got a little bit lazy out there. Country Grammar came back, but if you go back and watch in deep stretch, Royal Ship is coming back at Country Grammar, just shy of the wire. And he can't quite get there, but it makes me think that maybe the timing of the ride, maybe he's a little bit of a curious horse to ride. So I still maintain with a trainer like Richard Mandella at Del Mar, with Royal Ship, yes, he's run over the main track down there in the past and didn't go so well. I think he's a different horse now. He's been here for some time. He has always hinted at ability, and the connections have always thought highly of him. I think Royal Ship is interesting. Country Grammar, it sounds like he's not going to go in the Suburban this coming weekend at Belmont Park. They're going to wait for the Grade 1 Whitney at Saratoga for him. But you will note that 2 of the horses, the number 1 for me and the number 2 overall, Mystic Guide, and my number 6 and the actual number 6, Happy Saver, they are scheduled to square off on Saturday at Belmont Park in the Grade 2 Suburban. It's a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. So, and when I bring up the idea of prisoner of the moment, I would be willing to bet whichever horse wins on Saturday, assuming no one else does, they will be the new number 1 at the beginning of next week. I'm going to try anyway to not get too caught up in the moment if for whatever reason Happy Saver defeats Mystic Guide, or if somebody else comes up and beats both of them. I try to keep my list pretty tight unless there's reason to make significant changes. I have the 3-year-olds ranked 4th, 5th, and 8th. The reason I have Mandaloon as low as I do, for a number of reasons, and he actually happens to be 8th on the overall list, There's a mile and a quarter. There's a part of me that wonders if that's his best distance. Maybe he's better slightly shorter. I think he can get it, but against the best, and that's what I have to keep going back to. I wonder if maybe slightly shorter is better, and it's been well documented. He's still kind of figuring things out. When he hits the front and he gets a little bit goofy out there, that's not really conducive to success, I think, against the cream of the crop in a race like the Breeders' Cup Classic. The good news is he still has about 5 months to iron things out, and I'm sure Brad Cox will get him straightened out. As far as the other 2 3-year-olds are concerned, Essential Quality and Hot Rod Charlie, I have them 4th and 5th. In the real rankings, the actual top 10 rankings, they are 3rd and 4th, so really no difference there. It's worth noting the first place votes in the actual top 10 rankings, they went like this. Maxfield, who was actually first in the ranking, was second with first place votes. He had 13 first place votes. Mystic Guide, who was second in the rankings, actually had the most first place votes with 17. 2 other horses got first place votes. One of them being Essential Quality, the other being Country Grammar. And I think all 4 of those horses, there are cases to be made, and you can even say the same for a horse like Hot Rod Charlie. I think there are cases to be made that all of them deserve first place consideration. Whether you put them first or not, only one can go number 1. But I think they at least warrant respect and thought for possibly being at the top of the list for the Breeders' Cup Classic rankings this far out. Again, this is the first week, and this will go on right through the Breeders' Cup Classic itself. Some of the other names on this list, for me anyway, that perhaps are a little bit, I don't want to say funny, but they're not showing up prominently anyway in the actual top 10. Idol, I had him 10th. I don't want to totally forget about him because he did beat a pretty decent field, and if you like Maxfield, I think sort of by default you have to at least consider Idol. I know he's been gone for some time, but his win in the Santa Anita Handicap was pretty impressive. I wasn't super high on him going into it, but I thought he won very professionally that day. Not only did he beat Maxfield, but he beat a nice horse in Express Train. Southern California clearly doesn't seem to be an issue for him. We'll find out if Del Mar is. Del Mar can be a bit of a quirky surface. We saw that with Arrogate. But in the big picture, I think he's an interesting runner. Finding out, hopefully, we get to see him sooner than later. Silver State, I have him considerably lower on the list than the rankings do. I have him in 9th. The rankings have him in 5th. There's a part of me that is curious about how far he actually wants to go. Mile and an eighth, he's shown that he can handle that. Can he do it against the best of the best? It's the same thing I keep going back to with Maxfield or any of these other horses who it feels like mile and an eighth or a mile and a 16th. In a horse like Silver State's case, a 1-turn mile, great, you can beat the best of the best. Can you do that at 10 furlongs? Because that is a horse of a different color, no pun intended. It's one of those things where we really get to finding out from a stamina standpoint, do you stack up with the Mystic Guides, with the Essential Qualities, the Hot Rod Charlies of the world, the Happy Savers of the world, all of these horses who have done arguably their best at a mile and a quarter compared to these others who have done their best at considerably shorter distances. Some of the horses that perhaps, deserve some other sort of consideration, I don't know. I think it becomes difficult to really sit there and say there were glaring omissions from horses who have received votes, at least off the top of my head. I think it's one of those things that we're going to find out in time where many of these horses truly stack up. Are the 3-year-olds really this good this early? Because if they continue to improve, which is not out of the realm of possibility, the top of the top is probably going to be the 3-year-olds. Is Mystic Guide going to come back as good as he was when we saw him over at Meydan winning the Dubai World Cup? Is Happy Saver going to just continue his winning ways and get the job done in a race like the Suburban? And then as we go farther down the line into the summer, do you get Hot Rod Charlie against some of the elders in Southern California in a race like the Pacific Classic? Does he take on Royal Ship at Del Mar? That would be a fascinating matchup. The Whitney at Saratoga is always one of the best races of the year. This year, it's probably going to be one of the best races, if not the best race of the Saratoga meet. Do you end up with Country Grammar? Do you end up with Mystic Guide or Maxfield or any of these types? Silver State, I know they've at least thrown out the idea of running him in the Whitney at a mile and an eighth. You get all those horses, and then maybe you get some other random names. Maybe you do get a Nhc, and they try to get back out there and say, you know what, we're going to go right to the front. Come and catch us. We'll find out how he runs in a race like he's going to run at Prairie Meadows, put it that way. The name of the race itself is slipping my mind right now. But The Cornhusker. That's what he's going to race in. I think there are a lot of things that can change between now and the Breeders' Cup Classic. This is just the first run through, and we'll find out how this list looks next week after a big weekend of racing at Belmont Park.
Matt, always great to get his insights and hear what he has to say. We'll loop back to that, Michael, but I want to move on straight away to this race at Belmont Park. Should point out that you are playing in today's event. You did have the nice 6-1 winner in the first race at Pimlico. How are you going to look to build on your lead in this spot?
Yeah, me and a quarter of the field had the 6-1 shot. I didn't think it was quite that obvious, but I guess so. Tournament players have become they're really evolved, and I want to come back to Matt Bernier to talk about evolving into a wonderful horse racing analyst. So these horses, these off the turf races are just, kind of difficult. You never know, what the real dirt form is, except there's one in here that ran on dirt. And I think this was going on the turf, and now it's dirt. But the 7 horse, just visually his last race, very, very, very green, kind of fighting the jock the whole way. And so you look at those kind of horses and you watch the first half of the race and you say, wow, this horse is just not enjoying this filly. She's not enjoying her time out there. She's going to give it up, and she didn't. And she ended up finishing. It was kind of deceiving, but she finished really, really well. She had a strong late pace figure. And, I just think, look, she's got a little bit of proven dirt form. And she's going to improve off of that race because it was just an awful green, learning experience. She was wide. And, I thought the price would be a little bit better. She draws John Velasquez. And so that's, in terms of contest, I'm looking, in the mid 4-1, 8-1 range. And she hits that just perfectly. So I think, in terms of trusting a horse here, it's tough. The 11 certainly looks like, the horse to trust is to run, her race. But I think 6-1 is a pretty fair price on the 7 here. And I'm happy that I landed there. In these pick and praise, you never know what you're going to get, kind of, especially the off the turfs. You just don't know what price you're going to end up with. You may end up with a favorite when you think you're ending up with a 5-1, and that's what makes them so difficult.
So you're in a good spot here odds-wise. I thought that was interesting. You talk about that odds range. I know a lot of players look for that when they're betting contests that are in the live format where you can change your picks as the contest goes along. But that's something you find useful in the pick and pray format as well, it sounds like, or at least trying to make your best guess.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think that's a good way to say you're trying to make your best guess at what you think the end off price is going to be on the horses so that you can then make a decision on whether to choose those horses. I'm not the greatest pick and pray. I know that a lot of people rail against, and some of my best friends, Doc Trezza, has spent a Twitter career going off on live contests, and I see people's points. You can definitely get, overtaken at the end by people who are just stabbing. And, so we all do it, because we have to. But I still prefer the live just a little bit, than the pick and pray. I do think the pick and pray probably determines, maybe a better handicapper, but that don't mean I don't have to, I prefer the live. So I like the lives. But yeah, you're right. You got to figure out where your horse is going off in terms of odds. I want to see, at the end of my selections, whether it's 6, 8, 10, 12, that I have a good mix. I'm not all favorites. I'm not all long shots. You want to have somewhere a good mix so that you can reach your target, goal of your selections.
The game within the game is what I like about the live contest that we lose here, but it does come with that price. A contest is less successful the more it becomes divorced from the idea of making people play horses that they actually like. And I think there are ways of doing it where the contest world hasn't really gone yet, in terms of having cut lines. I mean, to me, if you you got to make people earn the chance to try to beat you with one stabby horse at the end. You're never going to get rid of it completely, but I think it's particularly galling, when it's there's only one reason the person would have ever played that horse. A lot of different things that could potentially be done. Lowering the cap is something that's I've heard discussed that would be interesting in that regard. Getting ready to pop here from the gate at Belmont. I was just wildly uncreative. I thought the favorite was going to take all the beating in the new off turf configuration for race number 6. I think your runner's interesting at that price. I mean, I'm a big second time starters guy. I'll say that Jorge Abreu typically is not a trainer I look for his second time starters to improve. And I guess what I mean by that is he's just so good at bringing them to the races first out. But I mean, that would be a concern of why I wouldn't necessarily want to play Cali Fitz at a short number, but at the 6 or 7 to 1 that it looks like you're going to get, Michael, I think you're in pretty good hands in this spot. And I think you made great points about how difficult that trip was. Has obviously worked a whole bunch of times since, and hopefully, for your sake, will go well. A little bit of a delay here at the start as we have some runners acting up.
The other, if you look at it, like if you're going on hey, would I change now knowing what I know what the odds are? And I would say, in this case, no, I would not. I would stay with the 7. I'm glad. I wish the 11 would go to 4 to 5, because if the favorite beats me at 4 to 5, I'm fine with that. That's usually not going to determine whether, you win or lose. And you want those short price. You don't want a bomb to win. So, I feel, I don't know what the outcome will be, but I wouldn't switch right now.
That's always
horse,
good to know.
Looking at the odds.
Our next contest race will be Ellis Park. Just to prep, we'll be talking about that in just a minute or two. I do want to mention to the folks out there watching, Matt's not here, but we're still very interested in making this interactive. If you've got any questions, if folks want to talk about racing from last weekend or ask Michael any tournament questions, any questions about his experience in the aftercare world where he's been involved, really anything you want to talk about, people, come on here and holler at us. We're wide open to get a chance to chat with you. One of the things that makes this show special is it's really the opportunity for us to interact very directly and in real time with the audience. And for me, that makes it a very special show, and we want to take advantage of that. So yeah, we have a question. Is it okay to pop open the In the Money Empire Ride? I can't think of anything better to drink while watching Horseplayer Happy Hour, because every penny that folks have donated for that goes straight to our aftercare partners. And so if you drink it and then you need to buy another one, that's another way to make a donation. So Jake, please enjoy. It's good neat. It's good on ice. It would make a hell of an old fashioned or Manhattan.
I'm going to make I got mine. Thank you, Pete, for sending it. And I got it yesterday, and I can't wait to make, I don't know if this is kosher or not, but I'm going to make a Sazerac with it.
Oh, it'd be amazing. It'd be a great.
Yeah, I love Sazeracs. I don't like the sweetness of the old fashioned. So
yeah. And go light, even in the Sazerac, go light on the sugar, I would say. Yeah. I think it'll be interesting, the Peychaud bitters and the apple note. I think you might create something pretty special there. Take a picture and tweet it out and tell us how it comes out. All right, so you broke pretty well here. I'm imagining you're pretty happy. This is like a classic Johnny V spot, isn't it? That
I like it. Yeah.
Stalking, getting ready to pounce has to be good enough, but I mean, it's nice for you.
She looks more comfortable today than she was her previous race. So we'll see what happens.
And the 9 isn't dead loose, which is helpful. You will have to contend with Raffinity, the big favorite, up right on your outside. And we're going to probably find out what the fate of the favorite's going to be in the next furlong or so here, I'm going to guess, because it looks like that move is being made. But Raffinity was getting a little, I don't want to say worked up, but definitely was on the toes going into the gate. We'll see if she's able to finish her race. And it does look like she's got plenty of horse. Now, the two favorites going on with it. Cal Fitz looks to be done for the day. Unless something's coming from the back, it sure looks like this favorite's going strong.
And as a contest player, this when you're 7 or 8 to 1 is in the back of the field, and this is when you turn into a chalk eating weasel because you want come on with this 11, come on, with this even money shot, So
I tell you what, though, this 9 a bit
9 is holding on,
not going away, but still, I mean 3 to 1 over 7 to 5 in a longer format contest, you'd say chalk and not care at all. In a
That's right.
9 race pick and pray, it might be significant having the 3 to 1 instead of the 7 to 5 there, but it's nothing
it's not the worst
outcome. Too bad about. No,
I mean it's not the worst outcome. It's almost as good as the 11, and he didn't get a buster running up into second to get a place price. So it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah, we'll accept that. You, especially with your nice 6 to 1 shot getting in first, you can probably handle that decently. Let's talk about this race coming up at Ellis Park. We're just a couple of minutes to post now on that one as my attention gets momentarily taken by a corner kick in the Italy-Belgium game. I can't believe it's pretty rare that I'm not just screaming at the TV for an entire Euro quarterfinal match. But that's the sacrifice.
I'm right there with you,
people.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I'm making a sacrifice. I can't have the TV on to watch the soccer, but I've watched nearly every match that's been on TV. So
that's awesome.
Big soccer fan.
Oh, I love it.
Big Shaqiri fan, and he's had a great tournament. So anyway, we'll get back to horses at some point in this conversation.
We'll make soccer predictions later. Right now, let's turn our attention to race number 5 at Ellis Park. Who did you go with in the contest here?
Yeah, I landed on the I mean, again, these are, maidens. It's hard to, kind of get an edge on their form. But, I thought the 7 Pelota was interesting. Our good friends, 10 Strike and Marshall, they obviously thought they had a nice horse because they ran him in the fall at Keeneland. Got a little play, not much, but showed some speed. And then has been off, but has been working great. And now the key for me, anyway, is that the horse gets first Lasix, and it just could have been that Pelota bled a little, and now he gets Lasix. And I like Matt Shire. I think he's a really good trainer. He can get hot, and I think he's had a good couple weeks and couple months actually. And I think they're just 10 Strike is just always dangerous. They place their horses so well. And so it's a good price. The horse for me to beat here is the 5 Asmussen. He is, he's deadly second time out. You talk about, Georgia Brew, but Steve Asmussen is one of the best second time out. He used to give his horses even more of a education than he does now. Sometimes he wins more first out, but he's still very strong. And I think the 6 is just way overbet, just extremely overbet here.
Well, we got a very nice break from the purple and black, and that would have been the one I would have talked about if you hadn't really.
Oh, sorry, I went over. I was talking too long.
No,
okay.
But no, you didn't, because I would have just said the same thing, and people would have accused me of copying you anyway. But for me, the angles were the Lasix, the recent workouts looking really strong had to factor into any consideration as well. But then there was almost like from a contest point of view, if it was a live contest, it's almost the only horse you could play, because it's a little bit interesting, just a little bit of money to give that live look. And then I felt like, relative to chances, the 1, 4, and 5 just all felt like just the price. And Pelota is going to have to work very hard here. I think it may be a done deal. Maybe can hang on for some critical place points for you here, though, Michael. There is that Asmussen you mentioned closing down the center, but I think you're going to be okay.
It'll be all right.
One runs out an impressive winner, but hey, more. I mean, that's not going to be bad as the third choice. Perrin, we're live broadcasting. Do you want to say hi? Perrin had a play today. Say hi to everybody.
Hello.
You don't have to wear the mask inside at home. There you go. How was your play? Was it successful?
Uh-huh.
Awesome. How about after the show I come up and you tell me all about it?
Yes, well, I need to tell you one thing.
Okay, tell me one thing.
You know the top floor of Mr. Wontons is being sold.
No, this is big news. This is our neighborhood Chinese place, and
This
every neighborhood in New York has
an exclusive news report.
Well, we'll have to look into that. Perrin, who's going to win this race at Pimlico? It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5.
Which is the white one?
This was with the white saddle towel?
Yes.
The 2. All right, we're betting on the deuce for Perrin at Pimlico. Michael, who did you pick in the spot? Perrin, I'll come up and see you after the show.
I just need to tell you one more thing.
Okay, what is it, Perrin?
The one more thing is who's that famous teacher named something Chikoff?
Chikoff. Can you help?
Chikoff is his last name.
Anton Chekhov.
Anton Chekhov is a famous teacher, Michael?
Is a playwright.
Yeah, he's a playwright. Perrin's thinking of a teacher.
Actually, he might be the playwright.
There you go. Anton. She's taking a theater class, so it's Chekhov.
Because
was it the thing about the gun on the wall in Act 1 gets used in Act 3? Isn't that Chekhov?
He taught
we're doing theater.
He taught the person who does all the sound effects for He taught the person who does all the sound effects for my play.
I'm not sure that math works out, but we'll look into it.
He does.
I'll come see you after. High five.
He did. He taught the person who does the sound effects because the person is an adult.
Okay, that works. All right, we'll come see you in a little bit.
I'm telling
multi-talented.
So Perrin went for the roughie here, the rank outsider at 19-1. Michael, who do you like?
I landed on the 4, just basically on price. I really think obviously the 3 is the horse to beat. I thought I would get a little bit better price on the 4, but it was strictly, can't bet the 3 or in a contest, so I went to the 4.
My old friend, the late great Jeff Sotman used to say, short field, long price. Perrin's pick of the deuce could be a classic example of that. If this horse can somehow sneak into the number, the deuce. She wants me to say the 2. I don't know why. All right, we are off at Pimlico. Whoa,
a little bumping.
Big
we had some
3.
bump. The 4 bumped the 3 and might have knocked him out of the irons there.
It looked that way. And the 3 is the big favorite, right?
That's right.
So that's interesting. Be interesting if the thing could still win from there. Certainly traveling nicely.
Horse made sense. Is a Maryland bred shipping from California. A mare probably trying to get some stakes. Black type so they could get a good foal or sell or something like that. And the purses are probably better. Made total sense, of course.
Yeah. Sometimes when you're handicapping these races, trying to think like the owners is such an important angle. And I think that's a good example of it. I mean, I guess this is what happens when you 1-2, you can basically get knocked out of your irons and still win the race.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the 4 is coming, but I mean,
4 has a shot here.
Yeah. But you'd think the 4 might come down if it was really the 4 who caused that trouble. And it does look to my eye like the 3 is going to find and get to the wire first. So,
another second place finish, as Doc Trezza says, a member of our Houdat crew, he says, ABC, always be cashing.
I like it. Yeah, well, let's see. This might be a good opportunity now to do a little leaderboard check. Let's see. Let me just make sure Belmont is far enough off for us, and obviously we have to wait for it to go official. But we'll see where your 3 caches have gotten you. Yeah, this is going to be a spectacular time to do that once this race goes official. So that was interesting. Perrin, she's regularly crashing the shows. That was a pretty long visit, but hopefully folks are enjoying her act. She's very excited about this play, and I'll have to figure out what she's on about. Yeah, it feels like pretty unlikely that there's a connection between Chekhov and her little play in Prospect Park. But I am looking forward to seeing it. We weren't able to go, but they're actually going to video edit, and it was cool. The kids were involved in writing it. Very exciting program. I think she's going to go back for another week. It may mean we just get up to Saratoga right before the meet. I was hoping maybe to bring her up there, but the theater camp has been rewarding, so I don't want to rob her. Don't want to rob her of that. Let's see. We've got Bruce observing that she might be able to beat half the field today. I think that's true. Jake Jacobs chiming in that the seagull is his favorite Chekhov. I like. Is it the cherry orchard or the cherry tree? That's the one that I
think it's
remember.
The cherry orchard.
Cherry orchard. That was particularly affecting, as I remember. Let's see what else we've got here. Tom enjoying the local food and theater references. Oh, here's a fantastic question, and I'll let you answer it, Michael. What is the NHC?
Well, the NHC is now the National Handicapping HorsePlayers, the National HorsePlayers Championship. National HorsePlayers Championship used to be the National Handicapping Championship. It is a year-end tournament that culminates in Las Vegas, where they bring 400, 500, 600 people, 600 now, and they crown a national champion at the end of 3 days of competition. But it also runs all year long. There are events every weekend, online, usually on track. And so if you want to qualify for the National Horse Players Championship, you can do that either at Horse Tourneys, Horse Players, many other outlets. ExpressBet has some outlets. Of course, as a breeder, if you qualify for the Breeders' Cup tournament, you can win your seat to the National Horse Players Championship through that as well.
Yeah, the in terms of the purse money, in terms of the prestige, Michael, one of the best things about your reign was the speech you got to give at the Eclipse Awards. The winner of the NHC gets an Eclipse Award sort of as a representation of all horse players. I can't recall many, if any, who did a better job than you when it came down to the speech and the message. And we'll get back to that. I'll make you talk about that a little bit more, but let's roll through what we got. We got 161 entries, which is terrific given the early start. I'm going to attempt to we'll see. The Pimlico early start thing is frustrating, but it is what it is. And I think I'll just keep them. Whatever next time they're going to be in a sequence, if we use them, we're not going to use the first race. We'll use them later on, so they can't do that. They can't do that to us again. But Wayne Atwell is our overall leader. Peter Rotundo, great to see Peter Rotundo's name up there. Bill Duncliffe, now that's another perfect guy to talk about, of the Can Do podcast. We just did a collaboration with him about Quick Call and the birth of the thoroughbred aftercare movement. I encourage everybody to go and check out part one. Great interview with Andy Serling, sort of setting the scene for the rest of the story. Gary Blair, Pete Dressen's a player we get to see up there.
The best dressed man in tournament and contest world, right?
Very, very, lots of sartorial splendor when it comes to Mr. Dressen's. David Browning, our overall tour leader, he is back up there, folks. Right now, tied for fifth. Keith Van Lanen, Stephen Dudenoff, Dave Nichols, who's another guy who I know has done plenty of volunteer work for aftercare, specifically with TRF. Rick Broth, who was the winner of the Kentucky Derby contest a couple of years back. John Erickson, another Peter Rotundo entry. Mark Wilgard, Andrew Uretsky, Matt Miller, big supporter of In the Money Media. John Bull III, and on from there. I will also shout out Trish Smith, who's a regular in our comments, and Steve McNatton. Great to see him in good position. He's got 2 entries at 34.70, so well within striking distance. And just looking ahead, has an interesting blend of the same horses and some different horses. So very good chance for Stephen McNatton to make a little bit of a leap up there. And while we're shouting out people from our comments who've been doing a great job, there's Chris Couples. And oh, by the way, in 21st place right now, our very own Michael Beychok. Did you play one ticket or multiple tickets today?
I played 2. I'm in 32nd with the other ticket.
Okay. So you're around it.
I'm within striking distance. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tight pack. Everybody is pretty much alive. I mean, depending on who you pick from here, but it's these Friday cards and the shorter type fields. Nobody's running away with this one. And it looks like our next contest race will be Belmont 7th. Do I have that right? Yes, I think I do. So we'll get over to that in a minute. Let's get back, but before we leave the soccer topic completely, Who's your pick to win this thing?
Well, I had a couple teams in a Calcutta that are knocked out. I had France at a good price and Sweden. So I'm just rooting at this point. But I think Spain today, I just think they're so overrated. But they got it done, somehow today. That was the worst display of penalty kicking, I think, by any team I've ever seen. The Swiss, who did such a great job against France, of course, they just totally stepped on themselves today. I don't know. I mean, I think I'd like to see England win it. I think they're getting better as they learn to play together. So I think they would be my pick at this point. I don't know. Are they playing right now?
No, they won.
They play tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, they're already back tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. Saturday 2:30. I just saw it up here on the screen against.
Who's playing? Italy and Belgium are right now. Or?
Yeah, Italy Belgium is right now. It was 1-0 last I saw. It's at the half, so I'm not seeing a score flashing up on my.
Yeah, I mean Belgium. They have the horses. I mean they no pun intended, but I mean they have the stars to win. But I think England. They would be my dark horse to win at this point. And I just think Spain. I would be betting against Spain every game.
You have no love for my Azzurri here. I feel like maybe that last match was the warning call they needed and the wake up call after cruising through the group stage. And if they can win this, I feel like the sky is the limit. I mean, this is an exciting team.
Yeah, anybody can win it at this point, obviously, right? Because, and I don't even go for my, I'm being penalized. I went against my homeland, the Ukraine. That's where my grandparents came from. And I get teased by everybody because I didn't bet the Ukraine. So they'll probably end up winning it all. But I'll pull for them in the Olympics. When I see a Ukrainian, I love their colors and I just, and it's homeland. So I'll pull for the Ukraine against anybody.
Oh, that's great. All right. Well, it's going to be fun to watch it play out over the next couple of weeks. Oh, wow. Somebody just hit in the comments. I wonder if that's John Gasper. 2-1 Italy at the half. There was a lot of action while I briefly turned it off and looked away. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Everybody's given their Euros thoughts in the comments. Let's talk a little more about aftercare specifically, and let's loop back to your Eclipse Award speech, Michael, if you don't mind. Give us a little précis of what you talked about there.
Yeah, so, I mean, I was probably, this 10 years ago, I was probably like most horse players at that point, and I didn't really pay much attention, to be honest, about where horses went after they finished racing. It just wasn't something that I, thought about. And it wasn't something that the racing industry really talked about either, but after I won the NHC and I particularly with a horse called Glorious Dancer, who was a cheap maiden claimer at Golden Gate. And I just wanted to make sure that, I wanted to make sure that she, didn't go the route that a lot of horses in her position could have gone, where she wins a 5,000 claimer. She doesn't win for another little while. And, there's just nowhere else for that horse to go except, to a bad place at that point, Mexico, to a slaughterhouse. People just weren't taking care of their horses. So I got really interested because it was personal. And I claimed her. We actually ran her, won a race. I retired her. And she's still to this day, what is she? Probably, I think she's 12 now. She's a polo pony, or she was, and she traveled the world, being a polo pony for a brain surgeon here in Louisiana. And at the NHC, at the Eclipse, I just thought that I needed to give voice to where I was so that I could at least talk to some of the horse players out there and maybe the industry. And so I basically centered the whole speech about what the industry could do more for horses in aftercare, and also, what horse players, because we were not paying attention. And that was the basis of my speech. And I remember Pete Rotundo, who was second in the contest, was backstage. He used to work the Eclipse Awards. And I don't know if it was him or somebody else came up to me right before. And, I'd written this speech and practiced it. And somebody came up to me and said, you got like a minute. and I knew the speech was like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And I was like, no, that's not going to work. And I just went, I probably talked as fast as I've ever talked before in my life, because I really wanted to get through the whole thing. And that started, for me, I put my marker down right there and I said, look, I'm going to do more, and not just claiming the horse and retiring one horse, but, trying to affect change in my own state, which we have done over the past 3 or 4 years with help from Maggie Moss and National Thoroughbred Welfare Organization, and so we've done some things, but it's a tough, and I think the industry has just, you think about, Pete, where we were 10 years ago, I don't know how many organizations there were, but there weren't too many. I mean, nearly every state now has not only, programs and associations and groups, but, public funding and public support for those groups to help aftercare. So I think we're in a really much better place than we were 10 years ago. And I think 10 years from now, we'll be even in a better place.
I really see that win by you and that speech and that story as kind of a sea change. And I just feel like there's so much more awareness now, and got to thank our friends at the Breeders' Cup for supporting an effort like this that's going to end up giving a ton of money to charity, but also that's going to create a lot of awareness. And it's something that, I want people to appreciate and get involved in and follow your lead, because it's just so different than it used to be, and it's a positive change that you, my friend, were very involved in making, and I'm glad to hear you're along for helping us this year, continuing to raise money through efforts like this, and also, and we'll announce it here for the first time, this event we're doing in Saratoga. Now, we don't have all the details, but we will ask you to save the date, August 11th. We're going to be doing the special Gumbo for the Horses event in Saratoga, all proceeds going to Thoroughbred Aftercare charity, specifically the TRF. But I'm excited. When you saw we did one of these the other years with our pals over at Hattie's, and I remember you texting me, hey, you didn't think to ask me about this? Don't you know where I'm from?
Well, I know this about the guy. We were supposed to do it last year, I think, and COVID got us. But I will say that it's gumbo for the horses. It will be the best gumbo that anybody has ever eaten in their entire life, without question. There's no argument. There will be no argument about that, because this is the best gumbo that I've ever had. And I'm not, I don't know if you can be a gumbo connoisseur, but I've had it in quite a few places, quite often. It won't be a seafood gumbo, because it's a summer. It's just not appropriate. But it's a chicken and andouille. And it's fantastic, and I'm excited about it. I hope I'm going to push the tickets very hard. So if you're one of my friends and you're listening out there, I'm coming at you, because you're going to be buying tickets. And I can't wait. It's going to be fun. Hopefully we can, we don't know how we're going to get the gumbo there, whether we're going to cook it there, ship it there, but it's possible that the chef, and I'll be overseeing, but the real chef with the real recipe, Frank Brightson of Brightson's in New Orleans, who has offered to donate, his time and the ingredients for us. He may even show up and cook it up there. So we'll figure it all out, but it will be fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Phenomenal. We had so much fun the other year up in the secret spot, AKA the DG Lounge, with you and your crew from you and your crew from Louisiana. Will that whole lot be there?
We're running a little short this year. There'll be three of us this year. Yeah, we lost a couple soldiers. Just COVID. They're still alive.
Okay, you made me nervous there for a second.
No, I'm sorry, but the economy, it's been tough on us down here. So, but yeah, three of us are coming up, and I've got another couple friends coming from out of town from other places. So we'll see.
All right, three. I'm sure there'll be a fun crew, whoever they are. 3 minutes to race 7 at Belmont, my friend. What did you end up doing in here?
I went to the 5 parade field. I don't think I'm a kind of a forgiving horse player. I think sometimes that can land you on some prices, and it's just not what have you done for me lately, but what can you do? And you look at this horse's the three before the last race, which is running the slop, and they're all pretty good. I mean, they're all very competitive here. I think any of those races probably would win this race, but the last race was just god awful. So I think you're getting a little bit of a break on value here. This horse probably would have been 10-1 if either of the ones had been in the race, but I'm not overly enthusiastic, but I did land on the 5. I'll say that if the 5 wins, it's a good separator. I've just been looking through the leaderboard. Not too many people in the top 20 have the 5, so it's one of those horses that is important for a contest for if you got the 5.
We've got another visitor here that looks like TV's Matt Bernier has popped in to join us. Matt, how are things?
I'm hanging in there, guys. How you guys doing?
Excellent. Good. Michael's got some good picks so far. He's sort of on the precipice of some good things. We've got a tight leaderboard. We're half watching the soccer. It's all good things. You're in a different undisclosed location, it looks like.
Yeah, this is right across the street from Nassau Coliseum, down getting ready for racing tomorrow and Sunday. It's just been kind of a gloomy, crummy day for the past, or I don't want to say day, it's been 36 hours now, but luckily didn't have to go over there this afternoon and figured I would pop in momentarily. This race, I just heard the tail end of Mike's thoughts here. I kind of thought the same with the 4, Liam's Fire. Liam's Fire, at least, is a horse that, from a class standpoint, I get it. Maybe we're not really kind of checking the boxes, but, Pete, was it last week or the week before? There was that horse that had the fastest last out race in the field and maybe at first glance didn't really stack up all that well. I wanted to give this one a chance at a decent number in here.
I like it. I think it's a good case, and it is always funny when you see that. We're so accustomed to these speed figure horses being overbet and over fancied, and it's nice when you have a chance to maybe get one at a little bit of a price. I was too boring to believe in here. Just felt it to me. It looked like the 2 Kid Bourbon, very very live with the addition of blinkers in this spot. But I'm more intrigued by the directions you guys are going, especially from a contest point of view. As Muggs now makes her count. We had Perrin. Now we've got Lowly and Muggs. We've got the whole crew here today in the Brooklyn bunker, making an appearance as it's post time now at Belmont for their 7th race. Did you notice, Matt? You probably didn't, but that Pimlico did it to us again today. They started early.
I did. I saw I got a tweet from Chris Couples saying we're going to have to hop on that and get involved if you're going to make the deadline for the tournament. So again, our friends in Maryland, they just keep us on our toes. That's all.
Yeah, I have decided they will no longer be in the first 3 races. We can use them, but we'll just move them. We'll move them back one because I've had about enough of that particular routine. As they get ready to pop here, and we'll see what's going on. What's your status? Do you have other work to do today? Are you with us for a minute? Or are you just doing a quick cameo, Matt?
No, I can hang around for a few minutes. I ended up feeding in earlier. I'm sure nobody's watching from the show. We were having our production meeting, and I was getting in my picks for the early feeders for these things. So I just missed out on the BCBC qualifier, but I'm playing in the 15K. So
nice.
I've gone over a couple of these races anyway.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, yeah, any strong opinions, feel free to let us know, especially if that's a pick and pray format and you're not giving anything away to your potential competition. But what's your broadcast schedule this weekend?
5:00 tomorrow, NBC, and then I believe 5:00 on Sunday on NBCSN. Hopefully the weather holds off one or both days, ideally. But I fear that turf race, the first race we've got tomorrow, the Perfect Sting, it sounds like that could get scratched down pretty good here. So we'll hopefully things will stay dry for as long as possible.
Now, we heard you earlier with your thoughts on the classic division where you maybe tipped your hand a little bit, but let's talk about this race. And then, I would love an overview of the Suburban that, to me, as I look at it, looks increasingly like a match race. Well, let's see what happens here. We've got a very interesting looking stretch duel with lots of chances. Kid Bourbon doesn't.
Am I going to run second again? Maybe I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll
see Mike. Keep the 3 out of here.
Got a chance. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to run second. I feel a second coming on again.
Is this a reverse mush, Michael, or do you? Yeah, no, you called it.
Yeah, no, it's a true mush. It's a reverse mouth. You say mush, we say mouth. So I was trying to reverse mouth. Mouth.
What does that mean?
Mouth equal mush. You trying to mush me? Yeah, no, you're trying to mouth me. That's what we say down here.
I've never heard that. I think it's
never heard of that. No,
I love it.
Mouth. We say mouth. Don't mouth me. You know, it's like don't mush me. It's the same. They're interchangeable.
Same usage.
Totally interchangeable.
Gotcha.
Exactly. Right.
I'm hoping for a miracle with the turf racing tomorrow at Belmont. I don't think we're going to get it. How does it affect the big one? I mean, to be honest, I haven't looked at it from it's going to be slop perspective. Not to this point. What do you think, Matt?
I mean, it's worth noting, arguably the biggest performance of his career for Mystic Guide came on the slop down at Oak Lawn. So I don't think, if anything, it's not going to hurt him, put it that way. With Happy Saver, he's never encountered it before. So I guess that's a little bit of an unknown. The rest of the field, Moretti's run well in a wet track in the past. Max Players run well on off-going, so has Prioritized. So basically the entire field and Informative's got a couple of wins. So I don't think the wet track, maybe with the exception of Happy Saver, just because he's an unknown right now, but I don't think that can necessarily be used unless you end up with some sort of a bias one way or the other. I don't know that I would just be willing to sit here and say that the off-going would be the reason for one of these horses not firing.
I was thinking that, generally speaking, in that scenario, I will favor the horse who's going to be in front. So maybe it gives me a little bit more of an affection for the idea of Happy Saver pulling the upset. Oh, host fail. I missed the race kicking off at Ellis Park. Michael, what did you do in the contest here?
I went to the 7. I thought this is one of my stronger opinions because it was a 4-horse field. So. Well, I thought the price would be right.
You've got the leader. What kind of a price are you looking at here?
I mean, I'm 7-2, but I'll take it. I mean, I thought he was going to be lone.
4-horse field is a price.
I really thought it'd be lone speed and just do exactly what he's doing. So we'll see.
That's the way it's playing out. The 4 certainly in contention and traveling well as they hit the turn there, and indeed it comes 3-5-4 back over at Belmont. But yeah, these can all be critical points now. So even it could be that kind of day for you, Michael. But let's see if you can find
on the inside.
Yeah, if the rail's okay.
James Graham can find. No, we're gonna run second again.
I hope so. The 1 is flying.
No, we're not gonna run second.
Yeah, 4-1-7 there. You mouthed yourself.
I tried to reverse mouth, but it didn't work. I did. That was a fail all around for sure.
That was no good. That was no good. All right, so we're gonna.
The streak is over. I think I ran second 5 times in a row. I'm not sure.
That's impressive in its own.
Those are days that I would almost rather be nowhere than just keep nibbling and just picking up some place.
Always be cashing. Always be ABC. Always be cashing.
It's a mental thing for me, Mike. You know that. I'd rather be nowhere and just like, you know what, I'm finishing 5th, 6th today. I just don't have it. Than just nibbling,
The only thing is, if you're in, it only takes 1. And
that's true.
It's so, I mean, I agree. If we're talking about the end of the day and we were second all day and we got nothing, I agree with you, Matt. I'd rather be nowhere. JK and I always argue about this. He's a want to see the ball go through the hoop or at least get close to the hoop guy. Don't tease me with this nonsense guy.
The problem, my problem here is that the way I structured my tickets was that I thought the last race was very chalky. I thought that was the one favorite I was for. So I needed to hit with one of these middles to and now I'm going to be in, the unenviable position of needing like a 6-to-1 shot to get into the money and be riding on a 9-to-5 shot. So that's not the position you want to be in. That's how I structured both of these tickets. So.
No, that makes sense. Now, earlier on, Michael, you teased the idea that after listening to Matt's excellent spiel about the classic division, that you had some comments on his evolution as a horse player. Now that he's here,
should I leave?
Well, now that he's here,
should I see my way out?
I'm going to embarrass him.
If it was too nice, we're going to make him leave. If it's mean, he can stay.
No, I wanted to make the point. Matt and I are horse player alumnus. And we were both in different places back then.
Meaning the television, for those the uninitiated,
the television show, and
a very
Matt
influential horse player. I just want to point out for people that don't know, it used to be my job just to interview contest players, and the number one way people would always say they got into horse racing was because they had an older relative, an aunt, a grandma, an uncle, whatever, that sort of indoctrinated them to our cause. But when that show came out, all of a sudden, especially if I was talking to somebody under the age of, say, 35, the answer very often was, I saw those knuckleheads on TV and thought I could do just as well as them.
Yeah. I mean, it maybe drew 1 million people or so, which sounds like a lot, but in the television world, it was pretty shitty. But which is why it's not
on the show.
I don't know, but it's not on anymore. But I want to say Matt was picked as the newbie, the guy who really didn't know anything, and he played the role terrifically because he really didn't know anything. And but Matt, I just want to say, and now I'm embarrassed because you're here. I was going to say this without you, but you've developed into one of the best analysts on anywhere, on television, and your insights while I was listening to your top 10, it's just, I'm proud because I feel like I contributed just a very, very small percent, to encouraging you to get into the business, because I thought you had a future, and you obviously did. Thankfully, you didn't listen to a lot of my other advice, which we won't talk about. But you've developed into one of the top analysts, and I'm really proud. I mean, I just think you do such a great job. Now, I disagree with some of your Breeders' Cup top 10, like where the hell is Life is Good? I mean, where is Life is Good? Is he not? Can he not run? I mean, he's undefeated, isn't he? Is he retired or?
No, he just got transferred to the care of Todd Pletcher, in fact.
Right. Well, Pletcher knows kind of what he's doing. I mean, he might. I mean, he's undefeated.
He's an okay trainer. He's one of.
I would have stuck him in there,
race, all the time.
I would have stuck him in at 8 or 9 or somewhere just to say, oh yeah, I had that horse on my first top 10. Second, I think the horse that it's Masquerade, the Alstall horse that just won I think he's extremely underrated. I mean, the race that he ran at Churchill Downs was just visually amazing. And then I think he probably regressed a little. I'm not sure. And was the Ohio Derby maybe? But I think he's a horse that's developing. He's a big old horse, and he could be around. And I agree with you, Matt, that I think the 3-year-olds are very good. I think at the end of the day, Essential Quality will separate himself and be the 3-year-old, certainly at 1.25 miles, and he'll be tough to beat. I don't think Mandaloon will be the 1.25 mile horse, despite my history with him in the Derby.
Hey, I'm right there with you, brother.
Yeah. Hey, you want to get in on the lawsuit though? Probably, right?
No, I'm good. I'm all set.
We're going to get back. We're going to give Matt a chance to rebut the Life is Good comments. But we do have this race.
I thought he was going to rebut. I thought he was going to rebut that he was such a great horse racing analyst.
He might.
Well, I will certainly be able to dispel that.
Okay, I'm on the 9. I'm on the 9 here.
I was just you stole my pick again. I was just going to say I actually like a horse in here. The 9 Goldies boy, second off the layoff, should get a good stalk and pound setup, and I mean that's a pleasing price at 4-1, isn't it?
I like it. I wouldn't change knowing the price. Even if it was a live tournament.
Was this
and knowing where I am in the standings, I wouldn't change.
Did you Matt get to look at this race for your other contests, or are you peeking for the first time right now?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, the horse has no chance now because I have the horse in the contest as well. So
Oh my God,
there's a lot of weight riding on this horse right
come
now.
on with the Goldies, boy. Let's do it. We've had great luck when we've agreed, when we've disagreed on these shows. Michael started us off with a nice 6-1 winner. We're due for another. We're due for another strong one. And,
I guess my thought with this one was just simply, you know, the return off the layoff wasn't terrible. It was also over a wet track. From a numbers standpoint, is right there with any of these other horses. I don't think there's any superstar in here. I didn't think 8-1 was likely. I don't know that I was expecting 3, but you know, again, I'm not. This is one of those where I'm not going to, you know, zig just for the sake of zigging. I'm going to sit here and say, look, I like the horse. I'm okay with the price. It is what it is.
Here we go. Tom loved the HorsePlayers show, and he said you were a unique group, not a bunch of knuckleheads. I was kidding about the knuckleheads. People loved the show. I mean, there was that was a big impetus. You know, maybe I should be blaming you rather than thanking you, but a big impetus for Jonathan Kinchin getting involved in horse racing contests. So, you know, that's at least one monster that you created. Oh, we're going right to the front here, huh?
We're going. Based on that most recent run, was relatively close to a hot pace. I'm okay with the position right now.
I thought the horse would be going to the front.
Yeah, this is great though. I just want to be clean on the outside, but I kind of, for some reason, I was envisioning having a target, so I'm happy to have one.
I've said it in the past too. Going back to the show, I mean, I do genuinely mean this, and I've said it to Dan Illman too with the Daily Racing Form. I mean, I feel like I owe almost all of this stuff to the folks who kind of helped me figure out what the heck was going on with any of this and try to make heads or tails of it. And then also trying to work in the analysis part of it, which is it is a different animal than just going through and, you know, playing in the contest or putting your picks in and whatnot. So I feel like I've had a great deal of help from far too many people to even name here, but it starts with everybody from the show, obviously, and Mike, and I'll even include, although he wasn't really part of the show, brother Ben, just just as important with all this stuff. So
that's nice.
No, I loved it. It was great. I got to meet a lot of great people, and they've all lent a helping hand from time to time, and again, hopefully, I don't embarrass them too badly from. You know,
look at this trip we've gotten, gentlemen. We cannot be complaining about anything in the world, but we have not put it to bed. We have not put it to bed yet. And this 3 is really digging. We should be able to put this horse away.
I don't know
either.
Come on, finish this race. Just
come
get
on,
up.
Forrest. Finish it. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
I mean,
I'll say one more
work.
thing about HorsePlayers. I really think we were all learning how to do the show as we were doing it. That comes from cast, producers, directors. You know, I think if we were given the chance, of course, it would have been a different cast, maybe some hangovers, some non. I probably would have not. I think the show would have been much, much better. And I think we could have had a nice little run. I just don't think, circumstances just didn't give us the opportunity to produce a better product the second go round.
I would agree with that. By the end, it felt. I think I can only speak for myself, but I can't be alone in that. Very early on, it was such kind of culture shock for me being around, having a camera stuck in your face, and them telling you pretend it's not here. I go, what do you mean pretend it's not here? This is not. There are lights shining in my face. I can't look up. I can't keep my eyes open. Now. Heck, not even now. At the end of the season, at the end of the show, I thought it was a considerably better. We were all more comfortable in that position than we were at the beginning. And
the New Orleans episode was fantastic. I think we all.
That was. It felt like that was when it blew. We kind of came into our own there. I felt like.
Yeah.
I have 2 observations on it. One is just how unlucky you guys got in the sense of. Matt, I don't know if you'll know this reference. I think you'll know it, Michael, and it'll be a mixed bag among the viewers too. But in a way, you suffered from what might be called a magical mystery tour disease, where you're filming a group of people doing something and you're reliant upon interesting things happening which in the Beatles thing, Magical Mystery Tour, nothing did. And it's not that nothing did, but compared to what could have happened, nothing did. Because the very next year, you're all winning tournaments. You're all going nuts.
Well, like I think right after we finished shooting, I think Christian won the World Series, like in March of that year. And I mean, it was just
John Conte, the late John Conte, God rest, had a big run at the BCBC, and you had a run at the BCBC. There was so much story.
Yeah,
but
Matt had a run. That's right. Yeah.
For me, it was and there's more too that I'm forgetting. It was like kind of crazy that a little bit different would have helped, and I just think you got to rig the game a bit, made it more of an internal contest. Maybe I mean you need to. If every show could have winners and losers, a la a reality show, I think that would have been another way to do it. But it was I mean, like I said, it was very, very influential. We've got our standings updated after race number 8. Keith Van Lannen making his way into the lead. Pete Dressens and Bill Duncliffe, who we shouted out before. I knew Steve McNaughton was sitting dangerous with those 2 split forked entries going forward. He's in 4th. John Erickson, our tour leader. David Browning looking to top up and get some more points there. Gary Blair, Wayne Atwell, Rick Broth, Gary Blair, Michael Beychok. See those little caches, and then you get that 7-2 shot, and now you're knocking on the door for tour points. Matt Brown, Sam Stinson, shout out to him. Dave Nichols, we discussed before. Let's do 2 more, Craig, to give the 16 who are currently looking to potentially advance. The next 2 in the leaderboard are Matt Miller, and David Browning with a 2nd entry. So potentially some big tour implications. David Browning maybe, just maybe, inching a little bit closer to the chance to win the tour and win one of the 2 Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seats that we have on offer, free of charge to players, by the way, as part of this Horse Players Happy Hour tour. We'll see, though. Still early days. I don't want to mouth the guy, but he's looking pretty good.
On the mouth the guy. You use that in perfect context.
I'm a words guy. What can I say? Matt, I'm going to put you on the spot. We talked about all the advice you received back in the Horse Players days. I want to hear one really useful piece of advice that you received back then, and I want to hear one really not so useful piece of advice. And you don't have to name the name on the not so useful, but I can guarantee you got advice of all qualities from fantastic down to what the heck is this guy talking about? And I want to hear what you have to say.
I feel like you're sort of leading me in a direction with that second piece. The first one, and I've talked to, I brought it up on here a number of times, and I think it ties in well from a contest standpoint, especially for folks who may be a little bit on the newer side and trying to work on strategy and theory and how you want to go about it. I'll never forget. It was relatively early on that I was sitting at the table with Mike during the show. And from a pick and pray standpoint, we were talking about the idea of like, well, okay, well, do you just pick all chalk? Do you pick all long shots, knowing that in all likelihood, you're not going to hit all of them, but maybe you only need 1 or 2 to get there. And I've also prefaced it when we've talked about it on here now, saying, I don't know if Mike has changed his philosophy or the way that he goes about it since then. But at the time he had said, if it's a 12 race contest, first six races, pick who you like. Pick who you think is going to win. And for those second 6, and I guess it must have been a live event then because this is the way it was phrased. For the second 6, that's when you need to go through and sort of assess where things are. If you have the ability to continue on picking the horses that you like, maybe you've built up a lead or you're right there in contention, no reason to all of a sudden kind of turn things on its head. But if you're behind, now you need to kind of be realistic about where you stand and then alter your game plan. So that was something that stuck with me, and I still try to approach it like that whenever we play any of these contests. First 6, or the first half anyway, let me try to make sure that I'm taking horses that I genuinely like, even if they are in that 5-2 range, or like we just had a 3-1 shot. And then for the latter half, you know what, maybe don't be so stringent on sort of, it has to be this, and this. If you want to look at it and say, I can make a case for this horse for this reason, and I know they're going to be 15 or 20 to 1, I'm much more inclined to use them now than maybe I was when we were doing the show.
Before we get back to you for the other, I'm not going to let you off the hook on that other thing. But Michael, is that still similar to how do those words ring true to you now as much as they did when you said them to Matt almost 10 years ago?
I think so. And I think it's still hard, not to panic when you see, the first race of a live tournament and a capper comes in, to get off your strategy. But I think it's still the right move because, you could hit 2 or 3 of your next 4 or 5 and you're right back into the hunt. Now, if you go over, you got to start rethinking. But too many times, and I'm guilty of this myself, you panic. I mean, in the NHC ballroom, you can feel it. You can just feel it when a capper comes in. I mean, people they throw up on themselves immediately, and you're like, oh, all right, well, half the field's out. I mean, am I right, Pete? I mean, it's just they
100%.
go nuts. I mean,
100%.
Yeah, and so you can't do that until it really is time to throw up on yourself, and then then you do. But it's too so. Just don't. I like the strategy still. I'll just say this. So, 10 years ago, the fields. The competition was not as it is today, or maybe I'm probably just not as good of a handicapper as I was back then, which is both of those are probably true. But the competition is a lot tougher today. I mean, than it was 10 years ago. It really is. I mean, there are some just terrific, not only handicappers, but contest players out there.
100%.
Much, much better. Yeah, just
it makes sense.
So many
I think
more.
The proliferation of online play, so many more opportunities just to get reps. And more information out there too. So I have to agree. So all right, you can punt the second part of the question if you want, Matt, but I'm going to try.
No, don't punt. I want to hear it. It's probably me as well. I probably gave him the bad advice too.
No. I mean, look, it's the specific piece I won't buy into. The philosophy, the logic behind it, I wholeheartedly agree with. So maybe this is a way of me kind of answering, but not really answering your question. One of the moments where I didn't get to play in the BCBC that year. Obviously, I didn't have the cash to do so. But Christian had been setting up the table, and he had I don't know, there were rocks or something that had to do with energy and
crystals.
Just sort of the overall.
I'm going to guess crystals.
Okay, maybe that's what it was. But overall, the way he was laying it out was, this is meant to get me in as sound sort of mind, body kind of feel as possible. And I think the thing that, it's easy to, poke fun and have a good time with certain things. But I think the thing that most people sort of overlooked with much of Christian's sort of logic is that, kind of you need to be in that kind of even keel mode where you don't let the highs get too high and don't let the lows get too low, because if you are looking at it from a probability standpoint, accordingly, certain things are going to happen more often than others are. And if you just put yourself in that kind of Zen mode, if you will, you're going to at least put yourself in the best position to have a chance of success. And again, I don't know if that's, I guess in a similar fashion, I keep a rock in my pocket when I play golf, and on one side of it, it says breathe. And when I get a little ahead of myself and I get a little out of whack, I put my hand in my pocket and grab onto the rock. And it makes me think again. It's like, okay, try to get back to center, because if you keep going this way, you're just going to kind of spiral out of control. So
did Christian give you that rock?
No. My wife bought that for me on a vacation one time, because I had just played golf that afternoon, and I came back and I was all pissy. And she goes, "Your problem is you just get way out of whack when things don't necessarily break the way that you want them to, or the way you think they should be breaking." So she goes, you need some sort of a reminder. And we were at some little gift shop, and they had these little rocks that had little mantras on them. And she saw this one and it said breathe. And she goes, "This is yours. Hang on to this. Keep it in your pocket. And every time when I go and play golf, it's in my pocket." For that reason.
There's a lot of wisdom. I think there's a lot of wisdom to try to control your environment as much as you can. I know people do it, but I think it's a reason a lot of poker players will have the headphones on. Just like put them go in your own world, look inward, and control, puts you in the frame of mind of controlling what you can control, which is the opposite of that feeling the contest players get that Michael was describing before, when the bomb comes in and everybody gets off the bridle and starts going crazy. So I really think there is something to that idea of trying 100%. To create your own environment. A few more shout outs. We've got the original AJW. We'll say hi to. We've got
that's producer AJ.
Oh, that's producer AJ. Fantastic. Oh,
Checking in from Michigan.
Yeah, AJ Wash. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even realize that. AJ, thank you for tuning in. We've got. We didn't have Bruce didn't have on the cable provider. Here we go. Oh, here's a serious question in a way. Bill, who's up near the top of the leaderboard, am I allowed to root for the thing to truck out? Of course.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you either don't have the horse, you start rooting for the chalk out, and then when you're in. I don't know where. Yeah, I mean, Bruce, where you or Bill, where you are, we call it you have the protection of the chalk. Now, you don't really have the protection of the chalk, but because it's such a tight leaderboard, even the place points of a favorite could get in front of you. But that definitely is a thing, and we do have a new leaderboard, and there is some significant. Not super significant, but a little bit of jockeying. Because remember, the first who finishes first and second really matters, because that's going to punch your ticket to the playoffs at the end of the year. And right now, Pete Dressens has just overtaken Bill Duncliffe. It's actually the precise situation I was describing. He's just been passed by 70 cents for that second spot now. So that looks like it's going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, and he's blocked because he and Dressens have the same picks. So
that's a great point. So, Bill, you are not going to be finishing.
You will not be winning, Bill.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I guess they could both. He can't win, but they could both potentially leapfrog and run 1-2. He could still get the exact. There's 10 tour points difference in running first or second. For those that don't know, the top 10 finishers get tour points, 100 to first, and then 10 to the 10th place finisher. We should talk about these races, gentlemen, as they are getting ready to rock and roll here. We're 0 minutes at Ellis Park. Michael, who did you have here?
Yeah, I think they're flip-flopping because Ellis was supposed to run last. But this is where I went to what I thought was the chalk, the 1 at Ellis, and he's 9-5. Just, Hartman and Mitchell Merle have been on fire together over the past 2 months. I think, they're probably hitting 30-40%, and that's not an exaggeration. And they just look like, they're the best horse in here, and it's the hottest combo. And, that's where I went. Unfortunately, I went to the chalk.
Okay.
But I need the chalk. I need the chalk.
You're
so
okay.
I'm in the right spot. Yeah.
Yeah. You just need to keep cashing.
So I'm like the
tickets.
poker player, right? I'm the poker player now. I've made all the right decisions. I'm putting myself in the position to win. It's not up to me anymore. It's up to the horses. So that's where you want to be.
What did you guys think of Mischievous Dream at Belmont? Looks a reasonable alternative to the monster favorite Cocopelli to me.
Stand by. I was just trying to make a bet on Ellis.
Yeah, that was my second. That was my second choice. I went to the first turf for Dublin or nothing. I just thought it's the horse that's in the best form, and I'm not so sure about her turf form or pedigree, but I'll take the horse. I really thought this horse was going to be a lot longer than 9-1. I was thinking 12 plus, so I'm a little disappointed. But in terms of the contest, it'll be fine. Yeah, I just still thought no one would go for that direction. But I actually prefer the 6 over the 9, the 2 Clements here.
Okay. So yeah, we're together at least as far as that goes. Matt, get your bet in, and then
no, good. Belmont. Mike and I are on the same horse. Dublin or nothing. I have the 5 as well. Again, I'm kind of in agreement, but in a weird way, I'm okay with 9-1 simply because I think that may indicate that there's something there. Maybe I'm reading too much into the tote board, and we know that that's never a stone cold lock. That when horses take money, they end up picking their feet up. I just thought at Ellis Park, I was curious what you guys thought about the 3 horse in here. My man Flintstone goes out for Brendan Walsh. Thought the most recent run showed big speed and faded at the end. So perhaps we're talking about a class problem here. But I don't know. I would like to think Brian Hernandez is going to be aggressive at it there. Just try to clear to the front. And look, if it ends up costing you the race, so be it. I'd rather find out going out to the front, trying to set the pace and maybe get a little bit brave out there than trying to sit from off of it and maybe try to run down the favorite. So I thought the 3 at 4-1 was interesting down there.
All right, and a potential alternative to Edge to Edge, who Michael picked, who I thought was going to get a great trip and be a little bit tough to beat. But at least we've got a couple of different things we can root for there. It's interesting. It seemed sure a minute ago that Ellis Park was going to go first, and now my gut tells me, my spidey senses tell me they're going to run at the exact same time, which was listed in the post times. And I thought to myself, surely they'll find a way to stagger it for 2 minutes. But in a pick and pray, I would have been a lot more cognizant of not lining up the last 2 races at the same time in a live contest. Not really much material difference when it comes to the pick and pray format. All right, let's see. My goodness. All right. Gotta see if, I won't even say it out loud. Let's see. We are going to go first here. No, it's going to be at the exact same time. Okay. So we get to call 2 races at once.
I was going to say, you get to watch Belmont and you get to hear as close to a play-by-play without it actually being a play-by-play as possible. They're off at Ellis Park.
All right. So they did go off there, and it does look like the 1 is going right to the lead. And
Lucas's horse. Yeah, I guess that was a glaring omission on my part then, huh? To think that the 3 would be able to clear off.
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes he gets back to those quarter horse routes. This was the trip I kind of wanted from the favorite, assuming that the 6 is going unsustainably fast, almost like a de facto front running trip, assuming the 6 is going to come back. But the 6 doesn't have to come back, so we'll see. We'll see what happens here as they turn in. Meanwhile, at Belmont, Screaming By looks to be on a pretty comfortable lead. Coco Pelli, maybe not in the easiest spot there, but seems to have tons of horse. Looks like the 6 is just getting going from the back of the pack.
Come on, Brian Hernandez.
But we've got a shot there. Yeah, here you come, Matt. You're looking pretty darn strong.
Wasn't the trip I envisioned, but it'll work.
Hey, you still get paid when that happens, so we'll get the 3 up there, nothing from the 1. And meanwhile, Screaming By, this pace holding together for now. Coco Pelli has a seam if good enough, but it's getting late early. Here comes the 6 down the center. If the 1 stops in the last 50, maybe can just get there, but it's looking extremely bleak. This sure looks like a 1-6 at Belmont Park. Should we have had that 1 as a wire-to-wire winner? Should we have seen that happening at Belmont?
I don't. That was tough for me to see. That was, I used that horse in my multis, but
tricky.
It's hard to see. That
never landing 10 starts. Yeah,
I mean, so
unless you really thought the blinkers were going to wake him up, but I mean, I didn't see that being a likely scenario for her to go right to the front. So.
Yeah, blinkers on is something one could have noticed and just can't sell. Generally been riding with more confidence and flair than I've ever seen him do. And that was a really nice job by him. Now, let's see. These results should shake up this leaderboard, shouldn't they?
Unfortunately, yes, they should shake it up because it looks like shake up means fall out. Is that fall out? Yeah, I think so. I think my 11th place is going to drop out. Maybe.
I mean, there's
not too many ones.
Yeah, there's not a ton of 1s at Belmont.
But there's a lot of bunching in the field. Peter Rotundo in 74th, who was trying, it looked like, to play a 1-1-1-1-1-1 ticket. He's going to trip out here on the 1. I think he can move up.
What was the price on the 1? 6 to 1.
6 is on. Yeah.
Okay.
And with the 3 to 5 out, so it's chalk second, but the 3 to 5 out, which could make for a juicier. Place mutual
nice
there.
Place price, yeah,
potentially.
Okay. Yeah,
this is the point of a contest where you have you're trying to cipher. You're doing all your ciphering, like, okay, place price is this, and am I going to hold on? I'm $42. Just wait 2 minutes, and it'll all turn out one way or another.
Yeah.
Trying to do the mental math of 30 cents enough. Am I going to be on the bubble? Who does what? Yeah. Or you just sit back and wait for them to flash the number up.
Yeah, we'll see if this is enough points for my man Flintstone. We've got a lot of people. A lot of people have that number, but they're back at $48. And the exacta right now, the exacta cutoff is 63.70, and Pete Dressen's in that spot. Did he whiff? No, he'll catch some place points too. So it looks like it's going to be 11.20 from my man Flintstone. So that might be official in the leaderboard already. And then Belmont.
And they're saying that Browning is going to go to the
he's
front.
He's going to win.
Oh, he's going to win.
Unbelievable. Wow.
Holy smokes.
David Browning.
Yeah, he did win.
What a run. What a run. Another 100 points for our current leader. And, again, you can get points from more than one entry in a contest. So this is not over. But this is a significant lead. I mean, hey, after what happened to Paul Sherman on the NHC Tour the other year, no leads are really ever completely safe. But congrats to David Browning, who's just a terrific guy, and it's been wonderful hearing from him in the comments a little bit too. Michael Bryant does mention that Cancel agrees with my observation that Cancel has been running well. John Erickson points out the Browning win. That's good. That's just a cool result from a storytelling point of view. We got Rick Broth in second, John Erickson in third. Broth, I'll pause on him just for a minute. He won that Kentucky Derby contest. He's won the Keeneland contest. Very serious player and definitely a potential player in the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, a contest that we didn't actually spend enough time talking about how great of a contest that is this week, but we talk about that a lot. We'll get back to it. John Erickson third, 70-90. Pete Dressen's Bill Duncliffe. He gets to play in the qualifier on Saturday, and he gets his 50 tour points for his fifth. Encourage everybody to check out that In the Money Media Bill Duncliffe Can Do collaboration about quick call and the birth of thoroughbred aftercare. Longtime leader Keith Van Lanen doesn't go away empty-handed, finishes sixth, getting tour points and a spot. Steve McNatton, tour points and a spot. Matt Brown, Sam Stinson, and Dave Nichols, all tour points and a spot. And then we've got six others who will advance to play on tomorrow's qualifier. William Smith, James Alonso, Brad Gerson, Pete Dressen's again, Wayne Atwell, and Jack D. Chainsaw. I'm going to pronounce it the Italian way as we attempt to grimly hang on in this match with Belgium. 87th minute, 2-1 for Yazzuri for the moment. All right, gentlemen, our work here is done. Thank you to everybody who chimed in. We've got some props for David for his big win. Bill is going to go study. I think that's wise. And Michael Bryant thanks us. I'll start off the thank yous a little differently than I usually do by thanking all the viewers and listeners who make these shows so much fun to do. Ideally, we like to have more interaction than one guy just commenting over and over again, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Gentlemen, either of you have a final thought before we get out of here? Michael, we'll start with you.
No, just thanks, and I appreciate everything you do, Pete and Matt, too, to promote the aftercare. And I can't wait to get up to Saratoga, counting down the days and looking forward to our gumbo fundraiser on the 11th of August. Can't wait to do that.
Inc. We'll have that invite up ready to buy your tickets, trfinc.org/players. Matt Bernier, we're going to look forward to seeing you on TV this weekend. And any closing thought from you?
Yeah, just thanks to Mike for pinch hitting. I appreciate him coming on and helping out. And Pete, you gotta, the list now for guests, it's very lofty. We've got a champion already in here, so whoever's next, whenever there needs to be a pinch hitter, they've got their work cut out for them. So thanks again to Mike.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mike. Thanks to everybody out there. Thanks to producer Craig for pushing all the right buttons. Our friends at the Breeders' Cup, especially Haley Amos and Justin McDonald. Really appreciate working with them. The folks over at HorsePlayers.com as well. Couldn't do this show without them. This show's been a production of In the Money Media and the Breeders' Cup. Our business manager is Drew Coatney. Our chief creative officer is Jonathan Kitchen. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatow. May you win all your photos!